Again on politicals, Rivers Sole Administrator Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, retired, has announced the appointment of administrators in the 23 local government areas of the state. The appointment, which took effect from Monday, April 7, 2025, was made public earlier Wednesday, less than 24 hours after a federal high court in Port Harcourt gave a restraining order to the appointment of council sole administrators. The appointments were contained in a statement signed by the Secretary to the State Government, SSG, Professor Ibiba Warika. And so this conversation is centered on the Rivers Administrator defying court orders to appoint council bosses. Our guest is a public affairs commentator, Dr. Ajen Alomonia Ibieneye. Good evening, Doc. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening. And it's always my pleasure to be with you. Hello? Good evening. Hello, madam.
All right, Doc. I don't know if there are potential consequences for the appointment so far. I mean, just the other day, the court has asked that actions be stayed, but the administrator went ahead to appoint council bosses, appoint fresh members of boards that he already dissolved. Are there consequences?
Well, you might not really say there will be, if the courts has placed a stay and then they went ahead, you could say there are consequences, but this is not the case. Because if you look at the time the marching order is given to them, it's on the 7th, while the court is given the stay on the 8th. So that means they would have gotten into office before the stay. And as a matter of fact, I think they have a hearing on the matter on the 14th. So it will be proceeding while activities are being carried out. Of course, you don't expect the state to just be dormant. There are things to be done. Salaries need to be paid. Projects that are not that are ongoing needs to be looked at. So I don't think there are any consequences. The other aspect might be some other points or views. Speaking from the fact that this is not the democratic process. But you agree with me that there is a situation at hand and it must be tackled before the entire state is gulfed in smoke.
What can be adjudged administrative reasons, but are there legal grounds backing or that the administrator can lay claim to for defying an order coming from the courts? Are there any precedents in Nigeria, at least something that has happened that we can actually fall back on to say that, well, he hasn't done wrong?
Yeah, like if you look at the situation, you find out that in vice admiral discipline, the military has disciplined person, and he is of that flow. So no one expects him to do things that are unconstitutional or things that will be against the law. With this situation, it is obvious that the dates that he has carried out this action for the local government administrators to be working is different from the dates the courts has given the injunction. So if those orders were pari passu on the same date, then you can look at the consequences. But for now, it's like maybe someone is saying we shouldn't move from point A to B on Monday, and you're already at point B on Sunday. So that is not something that will rope his administration as not obeying or keeping to the tenets of the courts. If you cite other reference, you find out that it is a situation where, like previously, APC had a similar situation where courts orders were given and executions were made, and they went ahead to carry out those processes, and the court frowned at it and said that they have failed to obey the process of the court, and that amounted to them not having candidates in one of the elections. But this is not the case. This is a complete different scenario. You know, the circumstance that have brought him to office is it is something that you cannot even begin to blame. If you blame persons for such, it will be as if you're crying wolf when there is none. Because if the governor who is in office is expected to take some steps, knowing that Rivers people voted for him, and are expecting him to always stand to be there for them. If in this case now is on suspension, you don't expect the state to just be like that. The state must be making progress. And to those persons that have been appointed as administrators now, it is expected of them to see that the
But
respective local
do
governments
you
are.
smell underlying political motivations to explain his decision? You know, somehow the matter was on, the imbroglio was still there, the crisis all over the place, yet the suspended governor, Sim Fubara, went ahead to make appointments and even conducted a local government election. But now the matter is also in the court, yet the administrator went ahead to make appointments. Do you smell political motivation factor here?
No, that's for the elections that were conducted. They did not cancel the election because there was stay through the court process. But the Supreme Court stated that they did not follow the process. And in this case, it is different because they are giving the court has given the judgment when the dates these persons were given the mandate to work is already before the day that they are given. Now, if you look at it politically, it will be as if the structures are being captured and the state is up and running. But what would one do? If you look at, if you're looking at it that way, you should also remember that people are working. They deserve to have their salaries. There are a lot of things that should be done. If as an administrator, you cannot say that it shouldn't work because that's a federal assignment. It's a federal assignment to ensure that the state is up and running. If it is a situation where the judgment, the court order was given the same 7th, remember, these persons are are sworn in or are appointed on the 7th, while the other is on the 8th. So it's a different thing. Now they have, the beautiful thing is that now he has also appointed electoral officers. So if these caretakers or the administrators are there, a peaceful election and all of those processes.
I know the administrator may have his reasons, but this is an outright
Yeah.
neglect to the injunctions of the court, to the judiciary. Do you think that this incident, this particular incident may, affect the judiciary's authority in Nigeria? I mean, this is not the first time that any arm of the government, be it the legislature or the executives, will not totally obey the court order. But what would it mean this time around, coming from a person who is not elected?
Yes, if you, like I said, if it is a situation where the order was given on the 7th and he is going to have these persons to be working on the 8th, you could say that is flouting court orders. And it could not also tell the persons to say they should not work. Remember, most persons fail to understand that in Rivers State, as we speak, it is no longer a democratic government. This is purely a military administration. And the military, they have their courts. It's not like the literal courts. It is unfortunate that the governor and the House of Assembly has plowed the state into a frustrating aspect where ordinarily people would have believed that these persons being in office would have done better for the state. Because they just, for whatever reason, as a governor, he has a lot of steps he would have taken to ensure that the state is under control. But I don't know, for whatever reason, even is withdrawing court cases and all of that. So for now, I don't think it is proper to look at the administrator as one who has gone against the court, because the dates for the these administrators, the time they were appointed is different from the time the court has given the ruling. And when a case is in court, it's not good to be discussing it, because I think the court will be giving hearing on the 14th. So the process will still be going on while the state still have our affairs up and running.
Generally speaking, Doc, can you take us through the relationship between the executive and judiciary? And with this particular case in view, what are the lessons? This is outright confrontation. I know you said it's military rule right now in Rivers State, but we've had pockets of issues such as this ones, a court giving an order and the executive refusing to abide that order and take it as a mere suggestion. How would you describe the relationship between the executives and the judiciary?
Because there is no disparity. You can say you can see the fidelity. Look at the budget, for instance. It did not just begin to spend the budget. When
you have been most resourceful.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.